Hello and welcome to the lesson 9 of the CSS series. This lesson is about the position property. I want to warn you before we start that this property is not the answer for all the positioning problems. People that met this property, they think that this is gonna end all their problems. This is the solution for everything, and this is not. This should be used with extreme care because this property is really complex and it should be used when you want to position elements using coordinates. When an element is positioned with the absolute value or relative value, these four coordinates will become available: top, left, right, and bottom. So you can set coordinates based on the element or the parent. Let's get to the examples and let's try to make this as clear as possible. The first property and the easiest of them is the fixed. You probably saw a fixed element while you were browsing the web. I was using in the header here. So as you can see, we have a really colorful example. This is our header, and we have a layout here, and as simple as that, you can see what happens when I scroll the page. Please pay attention to that. Let's assume we want this heading to stay at all times in the top of my page, like the header of a table. I want this to be always present no matter what. So there where the fixed position goes in. If I set position fixed to our header in here, magically this is gonna stay above the other elements in my entire page. You can see as I'm scrolling, the header is always there. But there's one issue here. Pay attention. As you can see, our layout went up and hid behind the header. This is because when you fix an element in the document, this element is gonna be removed from the flow. So the rest of the page, the rest of the elements are no longer seeing this header. So what we have to do, we cannot add simply margin to our wrapper. I'll show you margin top 50 pixels. It does not work. We have to add padding because we want that our element is there to stay there. As you can see now, we have the layout where it should be with the fixed header. I'm using opacity so you can see exactly what's happening. The layout is going behind the header, and I hope you understood this. This is really simple and sometimes it's useful. Well, now we get to the cherry of the cake: absolute and relative positions. How do we explain them? Absolute position is related to the parent of the element. Relative position is related to the element itself. What are you saying? What's related? Well, I can explain better than showing an example. This pretty box is this awful color here, and it's within my content, as you can see, and I want to move it, let's say to here. So I'm gonna set position relative. So remember, position relative is related to my element, related to this pretty box. So every movement I do is gonna be related to this position in here. And I'll add top 50 pixels, left 50 pixels. I'm adding coordinates. I want 15 pixels from the top and 15 pixels from the left of my element. Why of my element? Because I'm setting that relative to my element. So this box should move 50 pixels to the right and 50 pixels to the bottom. And that's what happens. If I set 150 pixels, it's gonna move to where we wanted it to be. Basically, position relative relates to the element you are using. Position absolute is different. Position absolute is related to the parent. What's the parent? The parent is the element that is wrapping our element. In this case, this content is our wrapper. This content is our parent. But pay a lot of attention now. The position absolute can only refer to any positioned parent. I'm gonna even write this down. Position absolute can only refer to a positioned parent. So, what does that mean? If our content is not positioned, this content, this element, will not be able to become our parent. So it's gonna go up in the document and look for another parent that in following the structure. We have the box here. The first parent is content. Content is not positioned, as I just said. Then I have the wrapper. Wrapper is also not positioned. We didn't set any position to wrapper. So what's the next element? Body. Well, then body is positioned by default. So if I set position absolute and I don't have any parent available, I'm gonna refer to the body. So if I set top 0, it's gonna be 0 here, top of my body. Since I didn't set any left, I'm still in the position of my actual element, of my current element. But it's in the top of the body. If I set left to 0, it's gonna be left of the body. Now, if we have our wrapper with position defined, the position absolute is gonna refer to this positioned element. Quite confusing, but you understand. Let's get back. Since we don't have any positioned parent, our element is related to the body. But if, for example, our content had position relative, our box would be related to the content. So let me show you. what did I mean? Position relative. And now this is what happens. My element that is in the 0 position in the top and 0 position in the left is related to the content, because the content is now the closest parent to our element. It's hard to understand, but when you understand, things are not that complicated. Position relative is related to the element itself. Position absolute is related to the closest positioned parent. I'm gonna even write this down. Closest positioned parent absolute. Okay, this is the hardest part to understand. How do we apply this? After we understand this, we are ready to proceed. So we covered the hardest part of the position elements. I'm gonna just show you that in case our wrapper had position relative, our box would still be related to the content because it's the closest parent. And the header now is being covered because the position is seeing this element. This is what happened here. And this is the behavior we expected. Closest parent. If I remove the position relative from our content, it's gonna be here related to the wrapper and no longer the body. So before we close this lesson, we have the z-index property. Really fast, this property is used to set which element comes in front of the other. So in this case, the page is above our header. Let's say our header has z-index plus 2. Now our header has priority. The higher the z-index number, the highest the priority in the document. You can also set a negative z-indexes. They do work as well. Folks, thanks very much for watching. I really hope you understood positions. I know it's not that easy, but now that we covered the most important parts of the basics of CSS, I'll dig up some more properties and then we'll go and develop an entire project. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next time. Bye.